Welcome to the Inner Flame podcast where Stardust meets the body. You know, it's interesting. I tried recording this last week. I just had to pause because I got like a tickle in my throat. And I could not. I kept coughing. And it was wild because like all day I was pretty good. So I do feel like I'm picking up on something that maybe doesn't want me to pick up on it. I don't know. So we'll get into it. This might be, I feel like maybe a little bit different because I'm definitely picking up some things a little bit more clearly with maybe the energies of the external collective, maybe not just what we'll be going through as individuals. So I think that's going to be maybe a little interesting. But I do want to start off by saying that this is a little late because I did not get to record previously. And Sunday is sometimes my recording day for the weekly forecast. But we had a wonderful, amazing gathering with 11 incredible women who came out to the Garden Within soiree. And if you're listening, any of you, I just want to say thank you for making that so amazing because it wouldn't be amazing without you. And the way that these women, the theme of the event was really being able to be tended to, remembering that we are worthy of tending to ourselves as women, and whatever we're going through is worth showing up for, even if we feel like we're crawling across the finish line with nothing left to give. And to have 11 strangers come together and share so vulnerably, you think, okay, humanity's in the right direction. It's just pretty powerful. So I just want to say thank you if you're listening. I want you to remember how freaking amazing and powerful you are. And with one another, I really believe we can get through anything. So, with that being said, let's look into the week. This is for today, which is August 10th. Right? Yes, because I do Monday to Sunday. Okay, so August 10th to the 16th. And we are still, I believe, in eclipse energy here. So a lot can be happening and moving around that feels like, what the heck is happening? I think the eclipses can sometimes bring up a lot of energies that might feel maybe foreign or out of the blue. And what's really interesting is we start this week with the sense of breath. And while I'm going to share about the importance of breath, I do want to share what I'm getting. We have the card also of our ancient future. But when I was looking at this last week, I was like, man, I really feel like this has a lot to do with something that might happen in our collective, something that might happen in our external environment. And I honestly felt like something didn't want me to say it, or maybe not say it at that time. I'm not quite sure. But for some reason, it feels like breathing might be difficult. And it is the year of the fire horse. And I did think about, I'm like, okay, this feels like we might see more fires again. I know the last, like a couple weeks ago, we had, at least if you're in northeastern America, we were really affected by the fires from Canada. But this feels again like there's going to be more fires, and it does feel north of us. It feels like north of me, so north of America. At least is what I'm getting, is that there's going to be more fires, and there's going to be this difficulty to breathe. And I also feel like this is definitely going to bring up emotions. So there's and for some reason it's like they're coming off separately, but they're also kind of coming together. This could be emotions for the loss of land, or the loss of animals, the homes of animals, the homes of people, the homes of families, or the land of families. Um, because of course that's devastating, and that's really, really, really sad. And I think my friend and I talk about this a lot. There's just some grief that our bodies feel, because it's I said this yesterday as well, like some emotions can't be verbalized, they can only be felt. And so it feels like that's all kind of woven together. But what's also very interesting is like our ancient future, which kind of reminds me of technology. And was this maybe natural or unnatural? And are those emotions? I also felt like there was something that was going to be coming to light. And maybe that's something that we will start realizing, is that maybe some of the things that we think to be natural are actually not natural. This is totally a breakaway. This might be a little bit longer than my usual, because I think I have like a little bit more to say. But my friend, one of my really, really good friends, he was in an Uber. He was getting an Uber ride, and the guy was actually a meteorologist. And so my friend, we definitely don't believe what's projected at us. We definitely look a little bit deeper. Gosh, I hate when those pop-ups just happen and I don't know how to mute them. But I have never been a person who will just blatantly read something and be like, oh, that's fact. I have always been a person who reads between the lines, what's my intuition saying, and I go from that space, which, can very much feel like the heretic energy, because people don't like that. But this meteorologist was talking about how they cloud seed every single day. And the only reason we can see, and some of you might know that as chemtrails, and the only reason we see it some days is because the humidity percentage has to be just right, that we can actually see it kind of coming out of the exhaust. That's what I'm going to call it, because I don't know. And so I thought that was really interesting. So, and he was talking about how that has been going on for way longer, which I also have talked about. I talked about this kind of stuff all the way back to, I mean, I believe that the War of 1812 has a lot of weather manipulation, or what I would call direct energy weapons. So anyway, he was talking about this happening even after World War II. Yes, America, created a hurricane off the coast of the Carolinas, I believe, don't quote me on that, and wanted to see what it would do. So to me, this is like, I do question if there's maybe going to be maybe an uptick in some of these things. I definitely see fires. I see difficulty breathing, and I also see it bringing up emotions. But on an actual, personal level, this card is ancestors holding the keys for the future, wisdom from indigenous peoples. And I really think the indigenous peoples are probably, the closest to the truth of our past than a lot of our other cultures are, right? Like, we think about indigenous, but like we've got indigenous peoples in Ireland, like the root, these people who have lived there for thousands and thousands of years. This is saying that we're finding more out, right? And our ancestors hold the keys. Ancient remembering, bloodlines, that one might be important. How the past affects the future. a time to step up. So this is also saying like a time to step up, activations for powerful shifts. And honestly, when we're looking at the whole, my words, honestly, uh, eclipse season, you know, that can be big activations for change. That can be a lot of stuff moving and shifting. Um, and stepping up into ourselves. So this might really be that on a personal level, and really being able to breathe deeply. I was working with my dad who has is going through a hard time right now, and he's doing great with his physical therapy, but I said I can do this with my dad. You know, I said, I'm super intuitive. I can see what's going on in your body. And I want you to do this. And so we were doing deep fascia work. And we really focused on his breathing. And we do something, him and I, and probably a lot of us, where it's chest breath. So even when you're like told to breathe in the belly, you go, and I really had to show him because I had to learn how to really breathe into the belly and like have it expand in your ribs and in your back. And once he did that, he was like, oh, wow, I can go so much deeper with this. So it's almost like this is really a time to step up and really understand that deep breath really helps us understand and be embodied in our own body. Maybe we're worried about fully becoming who we're supposed to be. I was sharing this story the other day about, you know, sometimes we don't get the nurturing that we are looking for from the people closest to us. Um, and for me personally, I had a beautiful experience with my great grandmother. And that's your ancestors, right? This wisdom is coming to us from our ancestors. And what do they have to say and how can they support us? And so our emotions are going to be important this week, I think, in guiding us into what matters. What am I feeling? And maybe I don't have the words, but what is the feeling? Is it sadness? Is it grief? Maybe I don't know why, but it's like paying attention to that and maybe unlocking some answers or just allowing yourself to breathe through it, to allow yourself to express it. I think a lot of times, you know, did you ever get that where I still get it today? Why are you crying? Like I was on the mat the other morning and I was, I think, laying on my side for my scoliosis. And I was just breathing and all of a sudden I started crying, like sobbing. And it's very common for us to be like, why are you crying? And not in a bad way, because it's like, you know, sometimes it's like, well, what's wrong? How can I help you? But we sometimes don't have the words to say why I'm crying. And then oftentimes we feel like there's something wrong with being able to express what we're feeling. And so this is really like the beginning of the week is really paying attention and seeing like, okay, maybe there's something deeper here, or maybe there isn't. Really having that discernment of, no, I just need to let this out. Okay. So what's also interesting is this week we have a couple of cards showing back up from last week. And the way that I shuffle my cards, like I will put the card and I'll put it here, here, and here in the deck. And so they're really dispersed. And then I shuffle. And these babies just popped right out again. So we still have, by the middle of the week, the yin card. And what's very interesting about the yin card is it is a feminine card. It is the divine feminine. It is allowing yourself to kind of go with the flow, be in the liminal space. But a lot of it is receiving. Can you receive the fruits of your labor? Or are you like, oh, well, that's done and I got to keep moving? Can you celebrate? Can you receive help? Can you receive doing something for yourself without feeling guilty about it, right? And just really feeling nurturing and supported. So this is like a really big theme here this week for us to remember, where is my support? Where can I receive? And maybe where am I resistant to receiving? That's a big one. We had a gal for the soiree, and I said, "Let me get your chair and I'll bring it over." And she goes, "Oh no, that's okay." I said, "Let me get your chair. I'm tending to you." And she said, "You're right. You're right. I should reread my letter." And we did a practice, and it was so wonderful because in that moment she realized, like, oh, I'm somebody is trying to help me receive in this moment. You know, something very small, but it's amazing how quickly we're like, "Oh no, I got it," or "No, I can do it." So this is really a beautiful energy. And then we're asked to go beyond the mind. And I think this is where we stop ourselves often, is we think it has to make sense. Now, I've talked about this on the bigger scope of the divine feminine, and really, you know, I'm working very deeply with these archetypal energies, with the goddesses, and I really truly believe that these goddesses are helping us move into this new paradigm. But the divine feminine is something that we as women are still learning to hold within our body, because it is that powerful. And it is the liminal, it is the void. And so it is not necessarily a structure we are familiar with anymore, because we have kind of been broken down to abide and conform to a system that is not supportive of the divine feminine. So we have to kind of go beyond the mind, and allow this to happen, where we're not, you know, tripping ourselves back up. This is like maybe the self-sabotage talk, or where the mind is trying to make sense. I think about this often with the goo phase that we're in as a collective, of like not having the answers right now. Like things feel very unsteady and unstable, and like, how can I find stability in something that doesn't feel stable? That is actually the feminine, because the feminine is the void. It is the liminal. It doesn't always have the answers right away. And I think that's what I actually have become obsessed about with the feminine, because it forces you to surrender and move beyond the mind, because so much of the structures that we know are operating off of data, off of logic, off of what makes sense, off of the next step forward. And oftentimes with the feminine, it's like, okay, I'm going to have you take a step forward, but then I need you to take 10 steps over this way. You know, and I think about this a lot, especially with the feminine, because it's so powerful. When you're working with the universe, with source, whatever you want to call it, if you go high, you've got to go deep. So if you're out here and you're doing all the things, you have to be willing to go deep within yourself. You have to be willing to ground yourself. You have to be willing. And I share about that in my past articles, where it was very easy for me to detach from my own body. And the goddesses are the ones who brought me back. It was actually Magdalene and Celeste, my galactic guide, who were like, yeah, if you want to keep doing this work, you got to really focus on being in the body and being comfortable with your own body, and not considering it like a cage, but the thing that actually will allow you, the vehicle that allows you to live and connect to what you can't see. Oh my God. And the card is rooted. Oh my God, I didn't even look at that card, and here I am talking about that. Wow. Wow. Isn't that funny? So let me see if there's anything else that wants to be said with Beyond the Mind. Thinking with the heart, being present, meditation, the bliss of being, quieting the monkey mind. So that's the mind that just is like constantly like, oh, it's like the circus. I've got to figure it out. It's the spiral mind. This is also really interesting. We have like a pretty good storm going on here, like a pretty good thunderstorm, severe storm. And it does make me think about these energies, like there's a storm a brewing. And I don't mean that in a bad way, but I do mean it in like, okay, let's anchor. That's my word for this year, is anchor. And this is the card, rooted. So we want to be rooted, okay? finding happiness within, going beyond intellectual limitation. Okay, so we pretty much said it. And that is finding happiness within. So this is very much of like, how can I find hope? How can I find peace? Even when the external does not offer that. Okay. All right. Then towards the end of the week, we have Truth Be Told, which is this feels to me like very raw. And I think we will probably see this in our collective as well. Yeah. If you've been following me for a while, you know that I've been talking about these systems and these structures that we have in place that are crumbling right in front of us. You know, we're watching the crumbling of what society was. And I think most of us know, like, we can't continue this way. We need things to be in more harmony and coherence and balance. And anytime I tap into the new paradigm, which I've been doing for the last 10 years, and I've been channeling Celeste for I don't know how long now, but it's so amazing. You know, it is so really, truly amazing. But the truth be told is kind of seeing the raw truth here. It is really being able to see something for what it is and maybe not, um, what do I want to say, like fantasizing. Pisces, like I'm a Pisces, we're known to do that. Like sometimes we don't see something for the truth of it, we see it for the potential. And that is not what we're being guided to do towards the end of the month. It's like, no, it's the raw truth time, like what's real. This will lead to our freedom. And so I think we're going to see that in the collective. I think we're going to see, I think that's why I felt like we were going to maybe have some more disclosure around things or friction around disclosure. I'm excited to see what will happen as we move forward with some of these things. Um, I never want to offend anybody, but what I see for our future is sovereignty, and sovereignty does not come from a place of telling people or mandating anything to anyone. And so I am really interested in seeing how we move forward with what has been going on. I'm not super tapped into the news, but I do know that there's quite a bit happening, and I'm just I hope that whatever we go through truly does lead us to a place of sovereignty. Um, so, that being said, in our own personal lives, it's like really being able to see what is not working. You know, truth be told, okay, where does your heart really lie? Where are the things that you're telling yourself that maybe aren't even true? And you need to look at the truth of a situation. I think about this even with my health, you know, like I will tell myself I'm healthy and strong, and I get in these spirals of I'm not healthy and strong, but if I actually look at it, I'm like, oh wow, I should be really proud at some of these things that I can do. Um, this leads to freedom, meaning we're not trapped anymore by an illusion. We can make new, what do I want to say with this? With the freedom card, it's like we can make new judgments from stepping away or from uncovering the truth. And I think that's really a hard thing here. I do want to say, I think this is why emotions and being rooted are going to be really important this week, because with the truth be told card, you can see sometimes where you lie to yourself about something, like everything's okay, I'm fine, it's fine. And this week is really saying, yeah, it's time to actually look at, are you sure you're fine? You know, maybe you're not fine. And really finding freedom in that truth. My friend and I were talking about this the other day, and I also had a conversation with my husband, and I'm like, I'm feeling a little depressed. And that is really hard to say as somebody who was on an antidepressant for almost 10 years and an anti anxiety. I had a hard time going to work. I had a hard time, and I actually got off because I was pregnant. And it's like, I do not like pharmaceutical drugs. I really don't. It is my absolute last resort. That does not mean that I think that's everybody's journey. It means I believe that you have the right to choose and be sovereign. But for me, I don't react well to them. I don't need to get into it, right? It's just that's not what I want for my journey. And saying that, I almost felt like I was lying to myself of like, it's fine, it's fine, it's fine. But I'm going to be honest and vulnerable. I've had a really rough year. And I've had a really hard time sometimes being a mom. I do have a very strong-willed daughter. I love her to pieces. She's so much magic, but also it has been very, very difficult. And there are times where I do want to give up and I'm crawling across the finish line. And I think just being able to give myself the freedom and the truth be told of saying, I think I feel a little depressed right now. And just being able to verbalize it and go, okay, what needs to change? What can I do? What do I need for myself? Was really, really powerful. And the thing is that then we're ending with growth. Because if we can be honest with ourselves, we can find freedom, and then we are open to growth. We can see things from a different perspective. So I think that's going to be really big for this week. And I think it's also going to be really big for what we see collectively. There's going to be some truth, maybe some hard truths that we don't necessarily want to face or see. Maybe we're in denial about. Also, that's very hard sometimes for us to discern. Like I said, I am not one person to be like, oh, they said it, so it's true. I have to sit with it. I have to trust my intuition. My friend Amanda and I, who do the Goddess Times or the Asteroid Times Goddess podcast, we talk a lot about how truth is a moving target. And it's like, oh, that was my truth, but oh, well, actually no, I've kind of, after I've grown a couple years, right? I've gotten growth, like this is my truth. And so truth, even as the collective, is a moving target. We think about history. Well, the truth was that Christopher Columbus was the first to reach the Americas. That was the truth. That is the truth. And then we come to find out, oh, wow, the Vikings were here thousands of years before he was here. So, like, what the fuck are we talking about? Truth is always a moving target. Always. Always. So it's like, allow yourself to discern what that means for you, but allow your growth to unfold. And I just want to see if there's anything else that wants to be said with this card, if I can frickin' find the number 14. Honesty, accepting things at face value, coming out of denial, the willingness to be transparent, clarity and communication. So that's really the thing. And accepting things at face value. That is, to me, very, that topic is convoluted and nuanced because there is something that's said about your intuition, knowing something that isn't being said at face value. But also at the same time, if somebody, it's like, here's an example. If somebody says that there's nothing wrong, like, no, I'm fine. But internally, I'm like, well, that's not what I'm picking up energy wise. It's actually none of my business. If they say they're okay and everything's fine, then I'm going to trust that everything's fine. Okay. I don't know why I felt like I had to say that, but it came out and we're going to let that just be there. So I'll be curious. I have not been on the news, and I honestly, like, has anything, let's look that up really quickly because I'm curious. I mean, I haven't seen anything. How should I even Google that? Active fires happening now. Oh, wow. well, this one is the first one, and it says National Fire News. Oh, well, this is as of July 18th. Oh, August 10th. Oh, God. That's today. Yesterday, 101 new fires were reported nationwide, including 9 new large fires. The Northwest remains the nation's most active fire area with 46 uncontained large fires. Oh gosh. Are exhibiting extreme fire behavior with evacuations, road closures, and threats to homes and critical infrastructure. That's exactly what I thought. With fire activity remaining high, help prevent human-caused wildfires by following local fire restrictions. But I'm telling you, sometimes I do wonder, I really, really do, how natural these are. I, there's just, you know what? Just for shits and giggles, let's do this. Okay, I'm going to ask if Magdalene and Celeste are with me. Those are my two guides. And we're going to then ask first, what is a yes? Okay. So yes is like a circle. You can't even see that. Okay. What is a, oh, it's like hard not to move. What is a no? You see that? It's going back and forth. Okay, thank you. You can stop. Magdalene and Celeste, are you here with me now? Yes. Okay, thank you. You can go ahead and stop. Are these wildfires natural? No. Okay, thank you. You can stop. Okay, are some of them natural? No. Okay, thank you. Okay, that is not what I wanted to hear. Take with that what you will. I trust the information that I get, but even for me, when I channel, it is sometimes hard to integrate. So that's interesting. Truth be told, hard truths. Okay, so anyway, wherever you're listening, if you're being affected by these fires, I wish you safety. I wish that, and I hope and I pray that, your family, your belongings, your animals are safe, that you are provided for, that you are supported, that you are protected. And for the rest of us who are not experiencing maybe the extremes, if we are experiencing some breathing issues, I hope that we are all safe. I hope that everyone can, I want to say, like, breathe well, just be safe. And whatever emotions arise with whatever the heck we're going through. I mean, this is the year of the fire horse. I just don't think that some of those are natural. So anyway, I'd love to hear what you think. Let me know in the comments how you're feeling, what you're feeling, if you resonate. I always like to hear from my community, because then you also don't feel alone. Sometimes you might feel like, man, am I feeling this by myself? and you can feel sometimes validated or just seen or witnessed. So if you have anything to share, I would love to hear it. And I wish you a beautiful week. And until next time, until next week, have a good one.